Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast. And today we've got another awesome guest, former Air Force Academy captain and current defenseman for the Ontario Reign, Luke Rowe. Luke, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, can't thank you enough for taking the time. Obviously, man, you've had a pretty busy go towards the end of the year as well. Um, First off, man, I want to congratulate you on signing that deal. You signed a 1-year deal with the Reign. Um, Man, being a Air Force Academy grad, now you're signing your first pro contract. When you're signing that deal, man, what's going through your head? The emotions. What are you feeling in that moment? Because all the things that you've been through.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Especially because like when you go to the Air Force Academy, you don't immediately you're kind of going there for the education and to serve. Like you're not thinking really pro
Right.
sports at the end of it. So the fact that I'm able to do both, graduate from the academy and I get my chance at pro hockey. I'm so grateful. The Air Force allowed me to defer my service for a little bit. So you just got to take it and run with it
Right.
if the contracts come. So yeah, it was a really cool feeling.
Man, and actually that kind of goes into my next question. For our listeners, obviously it's very rare to see like a member from the service academy now signing a pro contract. Like I think we've seen it a couple times through, baseball, football a couple times. We haven't really seen it in hockey a whole lot. For our listeners, what did that process look like? After you graduated, did you have to get like letters signed? Like, was it like a gruesome process? What did you have to do in order to make this happen?
Yeah, I had a lot of people helping me and working with me, but it was a lot of paperwork. It was a lot of work. Um, it's approved at the Secretary of Defense's level.
Yeah.
So the SecDef had to sign off on it, and it takes a while with the chain of command. I mean, you know how it goes.
Yeah, man.
The chain of command in the military is it's a good system. It's
Right.
smart, but it
Right.
does take a while when you want to go up a few levels. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of work just in the sense of I had to kind of write uh MFRs and letters as to why I felt I could do it. I had to kind of prove that there may be some interest. I had to basically fill out paperwork agreeing that I will still fulfill my commitment.
Yep.
I'm just going to delay for a time. And the graduating class of 24 is the last class that can do it.
Okay.
Because it was a bill signed by Donald Trump and it was overturned. But I guess there is rumors now that they're working on getting it back. Who knows? I mean,
Right.
that could just be like Twitter rumors, but
Right.
yeah, like I said, I'm so grateful and I don't know exactly how long, but I just, as long as I'm playing well and I'm shining a good light on the Air Force, I think they'll be okay with me playing hockey for a little bit.
Was there ever a time or a moment in your mind where you thought maybe this wasn't going to happen? I mean, that must be a tough thing to go through, right? I mean, you grew up playing hockey, had dreams of playing hockey from other articles I've read. You also had dreams of serving your country and being a part of the military. Um, you know, was there ever a moment where you kind of thought like, this isn't happening?
Yeah, for sure. I would say I didn't really think professional hockey would be a possibility until the summer going into my final year. I got invited to the Devils development camp, and I went there and I did okay, I think. Um, and I'm skating with these prospects and thinking, I'm doing pretty well, so maybe I can hold my own at another level past college. So let's see. And I took the chance. Like I said, I went through all the work, and again, I had a lot of people helping me. But with that, like when I say it takes time, it took time.
Yeah.
So there was times where things got stagnant, and I hadn't heard back, and you're on the edge of your seat. Like, is this not
Yeah.
going to happen? Are they just kind of figuring out a way to put me down easy? But no, it just at the end of the day, it's just there's a lot of things going on, and
Yeah.
I don't think the Secretary of Defense's priority is making sure that Luke Rowe's a happy guy and getting to
Hey, man.
play
Yeah.
hockey. But Yeah, I'm just grateful. But yeah, there was for sure times that I just thought it wasn't going to work out, but I'm happy it did.
You just brought up the Devil's Development Camp, and like obviously being at the Air Force Academy, I think people know how strict it is, right? How much they harp on education, fitness, um, everything, just being a well-rounded airman as well as just person in general. In going to Devil's Development Camp, like, what was your biggest takeaways from that? Because I mean, they harp even more on, fitness and just being a well-rounded person. Like, what were your biggest takeaways from that week at Devil's Development Camp?
Yeah, yeah, and similar to my last couple months with the rain, it just like it teaches you kind of how to carry yourself, how to be a professional in those settings, and um, like I think I wouldn't say like a leg up because it's not a competition at a development camp. You're just trying
Right.
um to learn some things, but just your time management. Those weeks can be long. You're on the ice a lot, you're in the gym a lot. I mean, you're fed well, you're sleeping well,
Yeah.
but it's a little stressful too. You want to perform and you want to impress. So I think the time management and kind of the load management of the week, I had I was on a good footing just because of the school I was going to.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you learn. It's crazy. You learn from kids that are younger than you. Like I
Right.
played college hockey. These kids played major junior, a lot of them, and like major junior really really trains you to be a professional. So
Right.
you see these guys and you do learn from them, um and then you pick up on little things they do on the ice, and there's guys there that were in the American League that went to development camp, and you watch them and you say, okay, like he does that when he goes back for a retrieval, he's doing this on his breakouts, he's
Yeah.
communicating
For
really
sure.
well. So you pick up on little things like that, and I had a great time. It was an awesome week. The Devils put on an unbelievable event, and it was really cool, especially to go to my hometown team was really cool.
It's interesting you just brought up that you were able to learn right from younger guys. And one of my questions later on I'll get into now is you played with a guy, Brant Clark, with the Rain, right? Young defenseman. Obviously took that other route of playing junior, right? And you're playing college. My question was, what did you learn from him, and how have you guys been able to kind of feed off each other? Like, again, what's that relationship look like? And again, I think it's kind of cool to see, both of you guys are phenomenal defensemen, but to see those different routes taken, what kind of things were you able to pick up on kind of his journey, and what do you think he kind of could pick up on your journey?
Oh, that's a good question. I never really thought what he could learn from me. But I mean, he's a first round pick. He's an eighth
Yeah.
overall player. So to watch him every day in practice and watch him in games, like it's unbelievable what he can do with the puck. And he's
Yeah.
so poised and he's so calm. And he just makes plays happen in the offensive zone. And like when he has the puck on his stick, he kind of commands the ice,
Yeah.
and um, kind of just seeing how he does that and what his tendencies are to be able to do that are things that I'd like to learn. And hopefully, I hope I'm not playing with him next year. I hope he's up with the Kings. I think he will be, but he definitely deserves it. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know, just kind of watching. Again, I keep saying it, but watching his tendencies, watching the little things. Like at this level, I'm not going to, like for instance, you take a guy like Clark, he's got really good hands, right? I'm not going to watch him and just revolutionize my game and have the best hands on the team,
Right.
but I can watch him and I can say, okay, well, he checks his shoulder, he picks up the puck, he has deception in his skating. All right, I can work on deception in my skating. I can try to fake out forecheckers a little bit better. So things like that. Um, you're never going to watch a guy play and like you're not going to watch Austin Matthews play hockey and say like, okay, well from that, like I'm going to score 70
Right.
goals next year,
Right.
but it's little things that you can take away from their game to
Yeah.
just take you a little bit to the next level.
Yeah, man, and obviously this year we mentioned before, before we hit record on this that you only played in 5 games, but man, in those 5 games you scored your first professional goal. Um, man, can you take us through that moment? What you remember from the specific play, and then what the hell's going through your mind like when you just scored your first professional goal, man? Like I can't imagine the emotions, what was going through your head. Like tell us about that moment for you.
Yeah, it was incredible. Just because realistically, I don't know if you saw the goal. It was a wild goal. The fact that it went in, I couldn't believe it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I got like run of the mill D to D pass, take your ice, gain the red line, put the puck in. And for some reason, I just felt the need to put it on net. Um, and I turned around to change, and like the
Right.
lights went out, and the horn sounded, like the bench got up. And
You're
I was
like,
like,
what?
yeah, I was like, you got to be kidding me! There's no way that went in the net. But sure enough, yeah. And then I got on the bench afterwards, and I wouldn't say I got like emotional, like teary eyed or anything, but like I don't know, it's cool to in that
Yeah.
moment to like reflect on how far I've come. I didn't play super high level junior. I went to college and didn't really think that I was gonna have a future like my freshman sophomore year. I wasn't really thinking about hockey afterwards. I was kind of focused on getting my work done and graduating. And then to score a professional goal in the American League is pretty cool. So yeah, that was awesome. And the guys were great. Like I had only been there for a week and a half at that point. And so those guys, they already felt like family, and they were really congratulatory, and um, they grabbed me the puck. So it was awesome. Like really good group of guys to do it with, and hopefully there'll be more of that this year, but we'll see.
Absolutely, man. And you talking about how the rain kind of took you in, as one of their own. Initially, when you got there, what was that adjustment like for you? Because obviously, you're coming from, Colorado Springs. I don't know if you spent any time, back in New Jersey or whatnot. Or did you go straight from Colorado Springs to Ontario?
Yep.
And then, like, man, take us through that because that in and out of itself, like, feels like if you would have left from New Jersey to Colorado Springs, like what did that adjustment look like for you? Did you have nerves getting there?
Oh yeah.
What did that look like for you?
Yeah, it was a quick turnaround. We had
Yep.
our senior night was on a Saturday. I played on Saturday, and I was in Ontario on Monday. Well, I was in LA on Monday. So
Wow.
um, it was quick. Yeah, it was a quick turnaround, and I had a lot of questions, but it's similar. It's funny. I can connect like anything that I go through now to something that I went through at school, just in the
Right.
sense of you're going to school, you have basic training, you have so many logistics to work out. Like, what do I bring? How
Yep.
do I prepare? What do I expect? And all those things. And you like in the back of my mind, you realize how many guys every year finish the college season and go and join a pro team, a decent amount, just
Yep.
for even if they're not going to play games, like they're still going to join
Right.
with whatever team they're drafted to, or they sign right after college as a free agent, and they all figure it out. Like I'm sure that all those kids that do that year after year, they have loads of questions, but like you're going to be okay. They're going to figure
Right.
it out. And it's not like they're expecting you to just come and know everything. They're expecting you to be there, not know how the organization runs. And that's when you just rely kind of on your support system, your coaching staff, your training staff, the guys on your team.
Yep.
And I did that. I mean, I was a little timid for sure. It's hard to join a team who's pretty tight knit.
Right.
They battle all year, and then you join them in February. That's pretty hard to do, just in the set like the social aspect of things.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to stick out. I wanted to kind of stay under the radar when I first got there, so I stayed pretty quiet. But like the guys there are so incredible. They took me right in. They were so kind, so understanding and helpful of all the questions that I had. And there was a lot. I asked a lot of questions. So yeah, it was a quick turnaround, and it was scary. It was a big step, but worth it. Like
Yeah.
it was one of those things. Yeah, like I could be scared, but if it's not scary, then it's not. I don't think it's a big enough dream.
Yeah. 100%, man. Like, so with that being said, man, you spent 4 years at the academy, which is for people that don't know. I mean, even as like an enlisted person, even like we look at the academy and like that's like the best of the best. Um, what were your biggest adjustments that you faced? I know I kind of asked this similar question, but like getting there, what would you say was your biggest adjustment? Like, was it literally just trying to gel with your teammates and try to make friends? Like, even on ice stuff. Like, what was the biggest adjustment for you? Because obviously you're going from the college ranks, now you're playing against professionals, right? And what was the biggest adjustment for you?
Um, that's a good question. On the ice, it was definitely, I'd say, awareness. Just because like you have to be more aware of where you are, what you're doing, the decisions that you're going to make on ice. Because when you execute, you have to execute. If you don't, the puck's coming right back down your throat. In college, you can get away with making a few mistakes. Not everyone is pretty flawless, but yeah, guys will make you pay for mistakes. So that was it. Just kind of awareness of where guys were on the ice and like knowing our systems. That was hard. Our coaching staff did a great job kind of integrating that and showing me what I needed to do. But your first game, you'd never run these systems, and we run the 1-3-1 and then our D zone. So it was nerve-wracking to kind of just jump into a game. Never having played those systems, but I'd say that was the biggest on ice adjustment I had to make, just kind of like training by fire, and then I'd say off the ice, it's the individuality of it all, kind of the freedom differed from my college experience. I can't speak on other colleges, but at the Air Force Academy, so you travel together, you get in, you have a meal together, you check into the hotel, there's a curfew, there's a wake up time, there's breakfast together, there's video, then you go to practice, you skate, you come back, you have like study hall together. Everyone has to like do homework at the hotel, and then it's dinner together again, and then it's lights out. At the pro level, it's not like that. You fly in and it's all right, we'll see you in the morning, so it's go get dinner. You can go do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, you're a free man. You are totally on your own, but you are expected to take care of business. So whatever it is that you need to do the night before a game or the day before a game when you get in, or even at home games, like you are more than welcome to do whatever it is. But just know that if you show up and you're not prepared and you're not ready, then you have no one to blame but yourself.
Right. Now, would you look at that as like kind of a positive or negative kind of in your experience? Like, obviously, you just mentioned that at the Air Force Academy and just military as a whole, everything is laid out for you. Every day is laid out for you. And now you're going to this brand new situation where, it's on you. Like, again, the academy, yes, it's on you to an extent, but everything is laid out for you. Do you look at that as kind of like a positive that you can use what you've learned at the academy and now transfer that to the pro level? Or do you think it's going to kind of take a little bit of time to be like, well, nothing's laid out for me, I'm expected to do this? And again, is that a part of growing up as well?
Yeah, I think that is a part of growing up. I think it could mess with people a bit, just like a new transition. If you look in the Air Force, like you'd be foolish to say that every lieutenant that comes out of the Air Force Academy or any of these schools is perfect. I mean, like they're going to make mistakes. Some of them, unfortunately, have maybe a bit of an ego or something because they think they came from a good school. And I guess my biggest takeaway at the Air Force Academy is how to critically think, and how to load manage and time manage, like I said earlier. So no, it wasn't an easy transition. It wasn't just like snapping my fingers, like I'm good at this, but it definitely is. Like I feel mature enough and logical enough to handle these situations as good as I can. Something I do think is great about the Air Force Academy is you're super, like your schedule's packed. You're stressed out of your mind some days where you don't think you're going to make it to the next day. You think you're going to fail all your assignments. You haven't slept. You're going to sleep in and miss class. Like all these things, you're so stressed out. But it's a learning environment. So there's no serious consequences as long as you're not doing anything outrageous like drugs, alcohol, anything like that. But it's a learning training environment. So you make a mistake. If you have a good leader in your squadron, which I did, thankfully, my commander was the best of the best. And Um, he let me know that, hey, you are in a training environment. Your mistakes don't have dire consequences, but it's to train you that someday they will. Someday it's not just, oh, okay, well, this is something we learn from. And
Right.
like that is part of growing up. And whether that's in hockey or just in life and business, you get to the point where, okay, well, I've taken all my experiences where I had messed up and I learned from them. Now I don't get a do-over. This
Right.
isn't that kind of environment where it's you wake up the next day with a clean slate. Like you need to, like you'll have a reputation that you have to develop, and
Yep.
a reputation that you can easily destroy with one big mistake. So I think taking that and making countless mistakes that I made at school has taught me that like what I can and can't do in the real world now.
Yeah, man, for sure. Like just picking up on like you mentioned the lieutenants too. Like that's kind of even as like a enlisted person, like we acknowledge that too. Like everyone's there. Like again, when you're deployed and whatnot, it's different. But again, realizing that they are lieutenants and they are going to make mistakes, and it's how can you teach them, especially as like NCO as an NCO and whatnot, trying to teach them as well. Um, Getting back to on ice stuff, man. You guys are obviously in the off season. You played in 5 games professionally. Are there specific areas of your game, whether on or off the ice, that you really are going to try to hone in on this off season?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely I want to become more explosive. I think I have a decent top speed, like up
Yeah,
and down the ice. I think I can get up pretty quick and get back pretty quick. But
yeah,
on 3-on-2s and any odd man rush situation and kind of closing defenders or closing offensemen in the D zone, like I want to be quicker to get there. So on a 3-on-2, like puck kicks out and I need to get out to the wing, like I want to get there faster. So I like linear speed or lateral speed, lateral explosion, things like that, which will come in the gym too. But like I need to work on my footwork on the ice, and then I want more confidence handling the puck. I want more consistency handling the puck, going back for a retrieval, getting my first touch and having it be good, and making a tape to tape pass are things that you can always work on, but I have an
mhm,
emphasis on this summer. I think if I were to boost up, like I said, I'm 25 years old. I'm not going to revolutionize my game in an off
right,
season. It's just unrealistic. I can get better and better and better as the year goes on.
right.
But in the off season, my main goals are get my lower body as strong as possible, um, and as explosive as possible, improve my lateral speed, and improve my puck handling.
Yeah, man, I got, throughout the last couple days when I had asked you to come on the pod, I was watching some video, man, and like, just your games that you've had throughout your career, how you've improved every single year that you've been playing since your first year at the academy. And an emphasis that I notice is that you are absolutely not afraid to toss your weight around. You're a physical defenseman. You're not afraid to again muck it up. Is there any defensemen that are currently playing in the NHL that you kind of look at your own game and say, I kind of see a little bit of this guy in my game, or is there anyone in currently playing that you try to emulate your game after?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, growing up, not I was too young to really appreciate it, but as I got older, I'd watch old videos on YouTube or Google of Scott Stevens. I loved
Yeah,
watching Scott Stevens. And then
dude.
like just
Yeah,
the way he was able to hit, and I mean some of it was old time hockey that doesn't fly anymore, but um
like
the
the
way
Paul
that
Korea hit.
oh my, like I don't even know if he didn't get a penalty for that. I don't think.
No, clean
Yeah,
hit, man.
and he put his elbow right through his forehead like
Yeah,
3 seconds after he got rid of the puck. So that I can't do anymore.
yeah,
But um like just the way he wasn't like you said, he wasn't afraid to use his weight, throw his body around, let people know that he was on the ice.
yeah.
Um, that would have been like as a kid, and I grew up loving Chris Letang, kind of trying to develop like that offensive side. And Chris Letang's my favorite hockey player of all time. So
Yeah.
I wish
So
I could
good.
say I model my game after Chris Letang, but that's not my kind of game. I just love
Right.
it. Um, Realistically, I think a player that I do resonate with a bit would be Radko Gudas.
Oh, that's a good name.
Like
Yeah.
people don't think of him as like very valuable, but like I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like last year with the Panthers, he was an animal in the playoffs, and then he signs a big deal, and like he is very valuable. He's not showy. He won't blow your mind with skill, but like his defensive zone is good. He closes on guys well. He breaks pucks out of the zone, and he gets up in the play when it's there.
Right.
And similar to Scott Stevens, like he'll throw his body around.
Dude, and as a Bruins fan, I'm from, the Boston area. Uh, I know Radko Gudas very well from watching
Really?
him play the Bruins. No,
Yeah.
from watching him play
Oh yeah.
against the Bruins last year in the playoffs, man. That dude was not afraid to. I mean, that was kind of the weakness of the Bruins. Like we didn't really have anyone who could match up with him. Like again,
Yeah.
he was a guy that could play. He plays the game the right way, but again, when it comes to mucking it up, protecting his teammates, like second to none. Like he was one of the toughest guys out there.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to get into kind of your early days of playing. And I noticed you had played for the Junior Bruins, which is obviously local here.
Hmm.
Uh, the Junior Bruins, that it's one of the top organizations that you hear about, especially in the Massachusetts area. Um, Man, what did the Junior Bruins do for your development, both on and off the ice? And at what point was it while you were playing for the Junior Bruins that you kind of realized that you had a chance to play, Division One hockey?
Yeah. I went to the Bruins, and our coach was an unbelievable guy. I have the utmost respect for him. Mike Anderson.
Yeah,
And he was just, what it was, it wasn't necessarily the development of like my skill, but it was the development of like my knowledge of how the game should be played.
right.
And also they put me in so many situations, and I kind of like power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, 4-on-4, whatever it was. Like I got the opportunity to learn in those situations. And I think just him putting that much faith in me to help the team win a game, I think developed my confidence and just kind of put me in an opportunity to showcase what I thought I could do.
Right.
And lucky enough, I got the call from Air Force, and I went there, got offered, and I didn't even think about it. I said yes on the spot. So um, I would say it was more confidence and a little bit of knowledge on, like I said, how the game should be played. But it was an unbelievable experience. It wasn't, like I said, like playing for the Junior Bruins. I wasn't playing in front of 6,000 people,
Right.
that some guys do in junior. I was playing in front of an empty rink, but it was good hockey,
Right.
and I enjoyed it. I have great memories from juniors. It was a great group of guys, and I think when the year ended, we had I I could be wrong here. It's either 11 or 13 Division One commitments at the end of the year. Not every single one finished all 4 years at whatever college they were committed to, but it was a good program with
Yeah.
a really good feeder system into NCAA.
Yeah, you had mentioned going to visit the Air Force Academy. My question is, you're 16, 17 years old. I don't know exactly when you officially, made the decision. But it comes time to start thinking about schools. And, you mentioned that you went to the Air Force Academy and you instantly fell in love. Like you said yes on the spot. Um, did you always, even from like before you got the call from the academy, did you always have it in your mind that like you wanted to pursue some sort of like military direction, or was it once you got the call from the Air Force Academy, you were sold? And then also, were there any other schools in play? Or was it only the Air Force Academy?
Yeah, there was a few other schools. I'd gone on a few visits and talked to a few other teams, and then my coach would tell me that certain teams had reached out, and he was actually kind of he wasn't bummed. He was happy I was committed, but he said go to the Air Force Academy, and if they offer you like let's come home, let's think about it, let's kind of weigh our options. And
Yeah.
so when I called him, I was like, hey, like I said yes. He's like, oh, okay, like great, like that works. Um, but yeah, there was a few other schools that I liked and that were interested in me. And with your first question, Yeah, I can't say I always wanted to go military. In my out After high school in juniors, I definitely had thought about it. There was
Yeah.
one point in time where I told myself, if I don't commit to a college for hockey, I'll probably just enlist. Um, just because, like, I don't know, I felt like the desire was there. I think the passion was
Right.
there, and there was a big point in my life where if I wasn't going to go to college for sports, I don't I like, what's the
Yeah.
point? You know what I mean?
Dude, I completely it's funny, that's the route I took
Yeah,
because once I figured out that I wasn't playing at the next level, um, yeah, I mean, I completely understand where you're coming from, man, because I get the itch and I get the like again, it's in your mind and that's why it's like this interview, it's so cool to kind of get the other perspective and the other route. Like you played full college hockey and now you're playing professional, but you also went through 4 years at the academy, which is like a huge accomplishment in and out of itself.
yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Uh,
I saw my brother went to state school, and I love him, and no disrespect to any state schools, but this is kind
yeah,
of what I always tell people, like, why'd you want to go there? It's
right.
like, because I would see my brother, I'd see my friends, and they go to these schools, and I'm a pretty like uh disciplined person, I'd like to
Right.
think. Like if I'm going to college, I want to get out of college what the point of it is. I want a good
Yeah.
education. I want to become a better man. And it just seemed with those schools with minimal structure where it's kind of show up to class or don't, like we don't care, kind of
Yeah.
like you're writing a check and you're sending it to the school, and
Yep.
if you do well, you do well. If not, who cares?
Right.
I didn't love that. I wanted structure. I wanted a place where whether it was school or sports, like those came first. The
Yeah.
partying and the good times and the quote unquote best 4 years of your life, that can wait. I'll have the best 4 years of my life in my 30s, you know.
Yeah.
um I want this time to be kind of grind time where I can figure out what I'm made of and
Yeah.
chisel a better version of myself out of it.
Yeah, 100%, man. I completely agree. It's like you go there and you're giving them a check and like again, you're not really not that you're not getting anything out of it, but like again, same thing, man. I had buddies go to school and it's like we're looking back now at 27 and it's like let's look back at what what we all did and it's like everyone does their own thing, man, and I'm not knocking that, but I'm really happy I made that decision. I'm sure you feel the same way that
Yeah,
you have no regrets about the decision that you made.
not one. Yeah, not one. There was times. I mean, there's times you go like it. You have your dark days there for sure, where
Yeah.
it's because you lose sight of the reason that you did it. You know,
Yeah.
you're there your freshman year, you're going through all the nonsense and all the rules, and freshmen are kind of the lowest of the low, if that makes sense. Like not as a
Yeah.
person, but it's just you have to. There's a lot of expectations for you,
Yep.
and it's not a college lifestyle your freshman year. So, sitting in the locker room and it's a Friday night. I'm stuck at school. I got to go up to my dorms and people won't know what this means, but greet people and walk at attention in the hallways. And
Yep.
I look on my phone and I see all my friends that are going to these big time schools and they're partying on a Friday night. And those times definitely hurt. And
Yeah.
it you regret it in the moment, but it's a foolish split second regret that you learn in the end is you made the right decision in the end.
Yeah, dude. I cannot. Yeah, 100%, man. It's so funny you bring that up because I remember I got stationed in, Alabama at Maxwell Air Force Base.
Yeah.
I was actually working the opposite side of, OT. I was working at OTS, so a little bit different from you guys. We worked the field training.
Mhm.
Between their sophomore and junior year, the cadets would come to Maxwell and pretty much do their basic training. And
Yeah.
I remember, man, it was like August, and I'm like, it's hot. I'm out there working, 15, 16-hour shifts and I look at my phone, I see all my buddies ripping it up in the summer and doing all this, and I'm just like, man, what the hell? So I completely understand where exactly what you're talking about, and I it's cool to see you coming out on the other side of it, and like obviously you've got all this stuff going for you, and it's just super cool to see the maturity and see it from the other side. Um, But man, I want to talk to you about showing up to the academy. Day one, you're a freshman, you're a kid still, man. You show up to the academy, you're a young man. What the hell is going through your mind, man? Do you step on that campus and just be like, what did I do? What have I
Yeah.
done?
Yeah.
Like,
That's the immediate thought.
yeah,
It's like, what am I doing here? Because so I was older. I committed when it was my last year in junior. So I went to basic training that summer. I was 20 years old, and like, so our basic is cadet ran. I mean, there are MTIs. There's
yeah,
instructors there that, I mean, for people who wouldn't know what that is, there's operational senior NCOs that
yeah,
are scary, really scary.
yeah,
And they'll let you know when you step out of line, and they're
yeah,
running the show big picture. But the day ins and day outs of basic is cadet driven. And as you get your time in the academy, like I actually worked basic my junior year that summer. So it's cool to see the other side of it.
yeah,
But you walk on, and the whole point of basic training, as you know, is to break you down and make you realize that you don't know anything, and then build you up as like a team player. But also the entire time they're subtly and I wouldn't say subconsciously, but subtly teaching you how to be in the military. They're teaching you the customs, courtesies, how to salute, how to just things that make the military a well-oiled machine. Everyone has to know how to stand at attention, how to salute, how to whatever. And so the first thing you do when you get there, they give you like a speech on a bus. You're driving through campus, and this kid comes out of nowhere behind you, and he starts screaming, and everyone jumps up out of their seat, and they say like, "Get off my bus!" Like, if you want to be here, then get off my bus. So you run off the bus, and there's footprints right before you get. There's a ramp that like leads to all the dorms in the main walkway. It's called the terrazzo.
yeah,
And you're standing on these footprints, and they are just screaming at you, and you have to know they're like basically they're teaching you in the moment. They're teaching you how to stand at attention. You have in basic at the academy, you have 7 basic responses like yes, sir, or ma'am, no, sir, sir, I don't know, sir, may I ask a question? Oh, I don't know, it's been a while, but
yeah,
they're like drilling you on these. First of all, they say it once, and then for kids that don't know them, who have never heard them, they say them one time, and then they're in your face, nose to nose, screaming at you, why don't you know this already? So it's actually crazy. I've never shook from like being nervous. I was like shaking.
dude.
So yeah, in that moment, and it's the hindsight is so ridiculous because you think back and you're like, I was getting yelled at by an 18-year-old kid,
Yeah,
younger than me,
yep,
who has no genuine authority. And
yeah,
it's crazy to think back, but that's just what it does. It just like it it breaks you down. And
yeah.
yeah, that like going back to your initial question, I'm sorry that was long-winded, but
No,
yeah,
you're good, man.
you get off the bus and you're like, what the hell did I do?
Yeah,
So,
dude,
but yeah, it was good.
it's so funny, man, because I had a MTI that literally he would say some of the funniest thing, like, and like again, trying to like instill that in you and be like scary and whatnot, but like again, it would be so funny, and like he would always catch like other people laughing, like when he says something so outrageous, and then you would get it. And
Yeah.
funny enough, man, funny enough, I I'm I have to PCS from Alabama to Dover in Delaware.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, man, I get to my new unit and I'm like, I recognize this name. I'm like, how do I know? I was like, I know this guy from somewhere. My MTI dude was now on the operational side, completely different person, like completely different
Oh
person.
yeah,
So, like,
yeah,
so to go back to your point of like realizing in hindsight, like I'm getting yelled at by like 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. Like this guy was just a normal dude. He
yeah,
didn't even have the same voice. He didn't have the same anything. And like you just realize in hindsight how even like looking back, like how good they are at their jobs, right? Like how good they
yeah,
are at breaking you down and building you back up. It's such a cool dynamic. The whole thing is just how different you become after going through basic training.
Yeah, it's a game. And I was
Yeah.
talking to you get a sponsor family at the academy, so just a house you can go to on the weekends, hang out. My sponsor, he retired E8, and he was in like pharmaceuticals, but he was saying there was some point in his career where he was at BMT, and he would, I don't know exactly what his role was, but he said it was so funny to see it from the other side. You see these MTIs that everyone is, all the basics are so scared of,
Yeah.
but these MTIs are, and now that he's on the other side, he's like, I'm seeing them scream at these kids, and these kids are scared out of their mind. And then the MTI turns around to me and is dying laughing. So
Yeah.
like to see that, like, it's just, it's a game, you know,
It
it's
is.
a game, and you don't realize it in the moment because
Right.
of the consequences that there are, but if you don't perform, but it's a game.
Yeah, dude, it's so awesome to look back and think on that. But
Yeah.
getting back into the, the hockey side of things, I probably should have asked this when we were talking about, you playing at the academy. Obviously, playing Division 1, you've played in some pretty crazy barns, some pretty cool places. Aside from, it's called Cadet Arena, right? I was looking up, there were different names for the arena.
Yeah,
I mean,
the basketball stadium and the hockey rink are in the same building.
Yeah.
And so the basketball stadium's called Clune. So everyone thinks it's called Clune, but the rink is Cadet Ice Arena.
Okay. Aside from there, what would you say your favorite place to play throughout your college career? I mean, whether it's taking into consideration, environment, hostile environment, like what was your favorite place to play during your college career?
That's tough. I mean, like in conference, our conference doesn't have the most outrageous rinks.
Yeah.
But I'd be foolish if I didn't say West Point.
Yeah.
West Point was a pretty spectacular place to play. And when they came to us, it was so cool. And some of my best experiences, like I scored an overtime game winner against West Point at home. Like I'll never forget
so
that
sick.
moment. And at West Point, there was one time, again, not to get too long-winded on you here, but
no, you're good, man.
At school, you have room inspections on Saturdays. They're called Sammys. They're brutal. You got to wake up first thing in the morning, put on your service dress, and stand at attention outside your door so people can check out your room. So we're playing West Point, and the chief of staff of the Army comes out on the ice, and I'm not doing a good job of painting the picture. Just basically know that these Sammys at military academies are the worst thing. Like, it's the most dreaded thing in the world. So it's a Friday night. We're playing at West Point. It's like a 2-1 game. They're winning. And the chief of staff during a media timeout walks out onto the ice with a microphone with the superintendent of West Point and just says, like, attention, attention, all cadets. Like, I have officially canceled tomorrow's Sammy. And the place, like, I've never heard, and it's not that big of a rink. It only seats like 2,000 people. I have genuinely never heard a rink get louder over something non-hockey related. And like, I just remember I look at my buddy next to me on my bench, and he just goes, yeah, we're done. We lost. Yeah. We lost. But it's funny the things you remember. So West Point is up there. I would say West Point #1 just because of the rivalry and the honor and like the legacy that's behind that rivalry.
100%.
CC, their new rink, that was always fun to play in. We played in the first ever game there in an exhibition game. And it's cool because Jack Millar, who's a friend of mine, signed with the Ontario Reign. He played at CC, and I know him well. So it was cool when he came out. And Denver was incredible.
Yeah.
I remember it's cool the things that you do remember because we were losing and the game there was 5 minutes left. It's at the last media timeout, and Denver has a thing that they do at every game during the last media timeout in the third period. The whole stadium sings "Take Me Home, Country Roads" by John Denver.
Oh man,
chills! Like it'll give you the chills.
It's so sick.
And in that moment, you don't care really about the score. Like you're just
right.
I remember Nate Horn, I played with him at the academy. Me, him, and um, one other guy. We were standing at the red line during this media timeout, and like in that moment, you forget about the score. You don't care that you're losing. As soon as the puck drops, it's back. But like we looked at each other and we're standing at the red line, like looking up into the student section. And we're like, dude, we just got to take this in. This is a memory we're gonna remember for the rest of our lives. And like the whole stadium singing like "Country Roads" and all that. And
That's so sick.
like we're just sitting next to each other, like, wow, this is cool. So Denver, West Point, CC were the ones that I got to experience more than once. So I'd say those. But then you had like we played against Wisconsin at the Quick Trip this winter break, this past Christmas break, and we played not at their rink, not at the Kohl Center, but we played where I forget the name of the rink, Pfizer Center maybe, where the Milwaukee Bucks play. We played in Milwaukee. Like it was packed. It was slammed. That was an awesome experience. And then one of the coolest hockey experiences was when we played the Stadium Series came to the Academy and the Avalanche played the Kings. Yeah, and then we played CC the next day outside, and that was
so sick.
That was cool. That was
so sick, dude.
Yeah,
that's unreal, man. Like I said, I can only imagine what that experience was like playing West Point. I mean, obviously that rivalry was there, but like also the mutual respect that you guys have for each other, because obviously you guys are all kind of headed in the same direction as far as military goes. So I think that that's really cool, man. Obviously getting back into the school stuff, the academy, stuff. You majored in military strategic studies. Did you end up staying in that major? There was an interview that you had done a little while back that I kind of went back and watched. Did you end up staying in that field? And then, what drew you to want to study that? I mean, and in studying, like, what kind of things did you learn? Like, what were your biggest takeaways from obviously 4 years of studying that?
Yeah. There was times where I was like, I'm not getting anything out of this. I should switch, but that just would have been a hassle. And I'm happy I stayed. So everyone tells you don't major in something just because you think it'll benefit you. If I were to have done that, I was going to go management. A lot of athletes major in business management just because it's super applicable to the real world. And it's maybe, I guess I'll say it's not the hardest major at the academy. So it has a reputation.
That was my major.
It has a reputation at the academy. Like if you don't like homework, then major in management. So, but I took management courses, which was cool, when I took those courses was when I would say to myself, like, I really wish I did this because I'm learning so much. But I grew up, my dad's in finance, my brother's in finance, and it wasn't for me. Like the idea of sitting behind a desk someday isn't necessarily for me. And when I got to the academy, I don't know in the operational Air Force if they say huh.
Oh yeah.
As like an adjective, like, oh, he's super hua.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. They do. So like, like if you're super into the military, like they say you're super hua. And so my freshman year I was, and I'm looking at all these majors and I'm like behavioral science, management. Like I really loved physics. So like maybe physics. I don't know. I was so indecisive. And then I talked to some guy who's a Navy helicopter pilot. And he was like, if you went to a culinary school, wouldn't you major in cooking? And I was like, yeah. And he said, so you're at a military school. Wouldn't you major in like war? And I was like, yeah, that's, it might be pretty dumb now to think about, but that sold me. And I majored in something that I found interesting. So what the major is military theory, military strategy, spectrum of conflict, mission planning. Like you're basically, you roll through case studies. You look at previous things that have happened in the world, with the U.S. involved in particular, but not always. And you talk. I mean, there's a lot of kids in this major that I guarantee you, just the kids I've known will end up wearing 1, 2, 3, or 4 stars someday.
Right.
So, like it's basically trying to shape the future fight and looking at previous conflicts and saying, okay, how can we do better? How could, if it's against two other nations and the US wasn't involved, how could they have done better? What can we learn from this? And it just teaches you critical thinking. And
Yeah.
I don't have a ridiculous memory. So unfortunately, all the history and historical elements that we learned, like, I'm not proud to say it, but I don't remember all that. What I do remember is the critical thinking piece. Okay, well, if you're looking at this conflict in like in the Pacific, well, how would you respond to something where there's a consequence on that end, there's a consequence on that end? So like I learned those things, but I don't necessarily remember what like Operation Eagle Claw was and like and the ins and outs of it like a history major, even though I probably should a little bit. But you learn those things. And I had these two classes that were as close to operational mission planning as I think you could possibly get without conducting a mission. Like we have top of the line flight simulators at the academy. So we had this one class, and it was basically your final project was mission planning an entire, this is embarrassing. Is it Red Dawn, what they do at Nellis when they have like 200 planes in the air?
Yeah.
Like you are basically mission planning that. And so you are given like, hey, this is your objective. You have these assets, do something with it, make a plan. And
that's like your final?
That was your final project. And it was like my PowerPoint slide was, you had a partner. I think our final PowerPoint slide was like 130 slides of like, you have to know the altitudes of all the planes and what they're holding, what you're going to give them like payload wise and their exact route. And then like you had to account for, okay, well, there's surface to air missiles in these areas. Like what range, what are we going to send in first to take those out? And then where are they going to fly? And okay, what about the ones that we don't know where they are? Things like that. So I loved the major coming out of it. I'm so happy I did it. It taught me a lot of critical thinking, how to think outside the box. And I think people say it's not super applicable to life outside of the military. I disagree. I think it definitely will be.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I agree with you too. Like I don't agree with the fact that it's not applicable at all. I mean, I definitely think there's areas, even as far as like leadership goes, like there's a lot of things that you can use with that. But man, the last question for you, we are like way over. I can't thank you enough for taking this much time, man. I'm so grateful. Man, you had 4 great years at the academy. We talked about, the ups and downs that you had. You came out on the other side of it, a graduate. If you had to pinpoint, whether it's one thing, a couple things, your biggest takeaways of lessons you've learned, things that you're going to take with you both now in pro hockey and then as well as, for the rest of your life, things that the academy taught you, I guess just about being a person. What would you say those things are?
Yeah, there's a bunch. I'd say to start with, there's nothing more valuable than just being a good person, and just being kind. And you hear stories about kids that graduate from service academies and they go in and like we were talking about earlier, they think they know it all. And for some reason, I'm sure you experienced it, but there are lieutenants that think they know more than a senior NCO that's been doing it for 20 years.
Right.
I think that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So hearing those horror stories, it teaches you to be humble and know that you don't know. Not only do you not know everything, you don't know anything. You will never know anything because there is someone who can think and talk circles around you with just pure experience. So I'd say that's a big one. Being humble, being kind, and kind of checking your ego at every door you walk through. I'd say the next one is I got in trouble my sophomore year. Not too important to go into the details, but it was tough. You get in trouble at a military academy and they'll put the boots to you, So they want to make sure that they're graduating men of character and women of character and people who can lead. And I demonstrated my sophomore year that wasn't me. And
Right.
so I paid the price for it. And I'm happy I went through it. It was tough. It was probably the toughest time in my life, but it proved to me that don't, because I wanted to leave at a certain point because of how tough it was. And it proved to me like you can't lose sight of your why and your reason for doing things. You have to just always remind yourself of why you made specific decisions and why you're chasing certain dreams. And two, you can spend your entire life building a reputation for yourself of people seeing you exactly how you would like to be seen. And all it takes is one mistake, one slip up, and that is all gone. You can ruin your reputation, and your reputation is everything. So those are the big ones. I'd say the first one that I said is the biggest takeaway. There's no reason not to be a kind, good person. With everyone has an ego, but it's a matter of what you do with it. And then the second one is you're always on parade. You know, like you're always being watched. You can always make a mistake, and it'll come back and haunt you. Just make sure that you're carrying yourself in a professional manner all the time.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. I seriously cannot thank you enough for taking the time. Obviously, I know you got plenty going on. You got rehabbing the injury, and just taking time for yourself to kind of enjoy the summer. But seriously, that was one of my favorite interviews I've ever done, ever. So I
Awesome.
seriously cannot thank you enough for taking the time. There is no doubt in my mind that you are going to thrive no matter what you do, whether it's hockey, Air Force, doesn't matter. I mean, you're just such a stand-up kid, man. And I cannot thank you enough for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was my honor. I'm happy to do this for a brother in arms.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, and let's keep in touch, man. And again, I can't wait to see what you do this season. Can't wait to follow you throughout the year, and there's no doubt that you're gonna rip it up.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Luke. Take care, buddy.
All right, man. Bye.